Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, Anthropic eyes a record-shattering $100 billion IPO, agents as apps rewrite the rules of software, and AI voice bots are hustling expert networks for $1,500 an hour.
I mean, it's just wild.
Yeah, it really is. So we're looking at a massive stack of raw market signals today. We've got Bloomberg reports, developer threads, live prediction markets.
Right.
And the mission here is to just separate the structural shifts from all the hype, really exploring this collision course between frontier tech valuations, enterprise reality, and, well, societal disruption.
Yeah, because the consensus right now is just they're pricing imperfection.
Absolutely.
But when you look past these dizzying top-line numbers in these reports, you start to see the second-order effects. Like, who's actually building sustainable infrastructure?
Right.
And who is just burning compute to maintain an illusion? And, what happens when the institutional guardrails we've relied on just completely fail?
So let's start with the absolute highest stakes on the board today, which is the trillion-dollar AI and space race. Because there is some explosive financial data crossing the wire.
Oh, yeah, big time.
At Kobisa Letter is reporting that Anthropic is preparing for a late 2026 IPO. And they're looking to match, or possibly even surpass, SpaceX's record $86.2 billion raise.
Which is just a staggering amount of capital.
It is. I mean, the metrics there floating for Anthropic are insane. We are talking about $65 billion raised privately, a valuation sitting at $965 billion, and get this, an annualized revenue run rate of $65 billion.
Okay, but see, an annualized run rate is such a dangerous metric to hang a trillion-dollar valuation on.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely, because it simply takes the current month's revenue and multiplies it by 12.
Right.
It assumes zero churn. It assumes a perfectly straight line of growth.
Just up and to the right forever.
Exactly. But more importantly, we need to look at the unit economics here. Because does an annualized run rate of $65 billion really justify a nearly $1 trillion valuation when they are fundamentally just burning cash on raw compute?
Well, you're pointing out the difference between, traditional software and AI models, right?
Yeah, these are fundamentally different business models. This isn't software as a service where the profit margins approach like 90% once you build the initial product.
Right, because with SaaS, adding 1 million new users costs almost nothing.
Exactly. But in AI, every single query, every single agentic action, it costs Anthropic raw energy and processing power.
Real physical resources.
Yes. The cost of goods sold is intrinsically linked to their revenue. They are heavily subsidizing that infrastructure with venture capital just to maintain their market share.
Okay, but to layer onto that context, look at what @Joan Relickman posted today. He's looking at the 5-year average analyst revenue growth estimates.
Right.
And he highlights SpaceX at a positive 2,090%.
Which is absurd.
Right. That's roughly 22 times their current levels. And NVIDIA is sitting at plus 288%. And then Elon Musk immediately replied to that thread, claiming both SpaceX and Tesla will beat those numbers.
Of course he did.
Yeah. And then you even have at SpaceX posting this brand new footage today of Starship's single-engine static fire at night. It's demonstrating a deorbit burn.
I saw that, yeah.
And you watch that massive vapor cloud and the glowing nozzle, and it just feels like this visceral, undeniable proof point of all this momentum. I mean, it's like we're pricing a railroad before the tracks are even laid, just because we saw a really fast prototype locomotive.
Well, the static fire is a phenomenal engineering achievement for sure. But we have to separate the rocket exhaust from the financial fog here.
Okay. Right.
Because the analyst models for SpaceX that John Ehrlichman cited, they vary wildly. I mean, from $60 billion to over $400 billion by 2030.
That's a massive spread.
Right. When you have a spread that wide from institutional analysts, it tells you one very specific thing.
That nobody knows what's going on.
Exactly. No one actually knows how to price infrastructure that doesn't exist yet. The market is pricing these companies like they've already achieved a steady state monopoly across the entire solar system.
But is this really just a dot-com bubble on steroids, or are we pricing in the literal reshaping of the global economy? I mean, at some point, gravity has to kick in, right?
You'd think so.
But if Anthropic is the foundational layer for all future cognitive work and SpaceX is the foundational layer for orbital logistics, maybe $1 trillion is actually cheap. We're talking about automating every desk job on Earth.
Right. Well, that is the ultimate bull case.
Yeah.
But to become the foundational layer of the global economy, you have to actually integrate into the legacy economy.
What do you mean?
I mean, you had to bend to the will of massive, heavily regulated enterprises. These valuations demand immediate widespread enterprise adoption. And that adoption, it demands severe compromises on the product itself.
Oh, I see. Which brings into focus what these companies are sacrificing to actually secure that IPO money. Because Anthropic needs the Fortune 500.
Desperately.
Right. And at business over at Bloomberg and Anthropic's own at Buterney, they confirmed today that Anthropic is fundamentally changing its data retention policy. This is for its advanced Mythos and Fable models this fall.
Yes.
They are completely dropping their mandatory 30-day data retention rule.
Which is just a massive structural surrender.
It really is.
Because Anthropic originally mandated that 30-day retention window for a very specific reason, which was frontier AI safety. When you deploy models as powerful as Mythos and Fable, you absolutely need to monitor the inputs for prompt injection attacks.
Right. And for our listeners who aren't super deep in the security weeds, a prompt injection attack is essentially tricking the AI into ignoring its own safety protocols.
Yeah.
It's kind of like walking up to a bank teller, handing them a note that said, hey, I'm the bank manager, give me the vault codes, and the teller just complies.
Exactly. That's a perfect analogy.
So Anthropic needed that 30-day log to catch state-sponsored cyber attacks or just bad actors trying to break the model's logic.
But the compliance and privacy dollars just won the tug of war.
Yeah.
Because regulated industries, healthcare, finance, major players like Salesforce, they told Anthropic, look, we will not use your models if our proprietary data sits on your servers for a month.
Right.
So data sovereignty officially trumped AI safety. Now, these enterprise clients are going to store the data entirely on their own cloud infrastructure.
Right.
And Anthropic, they retain zero visibility into how their most powerful models are actually being used.
It's literally like selling a Ferrari but letting the buyer disconnect the brakes because their compliance department doesn't like how the seatbelts look.
Right.
We are just handing the keys to the most advanced cognitive engines over to legacy corporations just to keep the revenue flowing.
And it isn't just the safety mechanisms breaking down under the weight of this scale either. The actual architecture of how we build software is being torn apart.
Oh, for sure. Look at the developer side of the wire today. The shift to treating agents as apps is moving at light speed, and it's creating massive friction.
Huge friction.
Yeah. At Matt Tinkleep, who is a former Replit dev now at XAI, he posted about how his entire workflow changed when he started treating Grok bots as standalone applications. He calls it thin client, thick server.
Which is essentially the complete collapse of the traditional graphical user interface.
Yeah, think of it like going to a restaurant where the physical menu you hold is the thin client.
Right.
It's super simple, it's just text. But the kitchen in the back is the thick server. And that kitchen is a massive, fully automated factory doing 100% of the heavy lifting to deliver a bespoke meal instantly.
Right. And the chat interface is just the menu.
Exactly. The AI agent connects to GitHub, Google Sheets, SaaS platforms, and it executes complex logic entirely in the background.
But it goes further than just the back end. Look at what Claude Devs just released.
Oh, yeah, that cookbook.
Right. They dropped a new cookbook showing off Claude-managed agents paired with AGUI, which stands for Agent-Generated User Interface.
The demo they posted is absolutely wild. It's this 21-second clip of a finance assistant. The user doesn't even open a spreadsheet. They just type a request for monthly investment growth.
Right.
And the agent dynamically writes the code, renders a real-time interactive financial UI with actual sliders for contributions and returns, and streams it directly to the front end.
It's crazy.
And as the user drags the slider, the underlying math recalculates live. And then add in the fact that at OpenAI Devs just launched the Exa plugin.
Oh, man, the Exa plugin.
Yeah. This gives Codex real-time access to over 100 billion websites, papers, and docs without ever leaving the coding environment. You even have at Thesodio talking about building lightweight games collaboratively with teammates using ChatGPT sites.
Look, it sounds utopian.
It really does.
Anyone can spin up bespoke software using natural language. But we really have to look at the underlying compute bottleneck that this creates.
Okay, yeah.
In that same thread by @Sotio about building games, the replies are absolutely flooded with developers complaining about Codex usage limits.
Oh.
Yes. Their limits are draining instantly during active sessions. And then you have @Peter Wang, who is a massive AI tutorial creator, literally begging the ChatGPT Codex team to tell him when he should start a new thread.
Wow.
He is running threads that are over 200 pages long, and he's asking if it's breaking the model.
200 pages of context in a single continuous session. I mean, that's an entire novel.
Exactly. And this is where we have to talk about context windows. When you have a 200-page thread, the AI doesn't just remember the beginning of the conversation like a human does.
Right.
It's more like a goldfish trying to remember a massive textbook. Every single time you ask a new question, the model has to reread all 200 pages instantly to provide a coherent answer.
Which takes an astronomical amount of processing power.
It's insanely resource-heavy. OpenAI-affiliated devs had to step into the replies and tell people to start using orchestrator threads.
Which is essentially a manager AI that delegates specific coding subtasks to smaller worker AIs, right? Just to manage the computational load.
Exactly. We're abstracting away all the efficient, hard-coded software architecture of the last 20 years and replacing it with probabilistic AI models that require a supercomputer to render a simple finance slider.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredibly inefficient.
But isn't that just sort of the messy middle of innovation? I mean, we brute force the capability first, and then we optimize the efficiency later.
Maybe.
The fact that a non-technical user can spin up a bespoke, interactive application in natural language that fundamentally changes the barrier to entry for software creation.
It changes the barrier to entry, sure, but it also centralizes all structural power into the hands of the compute providers.
How so?
Well, if your entire business logic is tied up in a 200-page codex thread, you don't actually own your application.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You are renting an illusion of an application from a cloud provider who can change the API limits, alter the model weights, or throttle your usage at any second.
That is a terrifying thought for a business owner.
Exactly.
But that centralization of power in the cloud is exactly why the open source community is moving in the exact opposite direction, right? They're taking these massive models and weaponizing them on the open web.
Yep.
Which brings us to the culture wire today. And it is a mix of absolute chaos, high-end grift, and this very desperate retreat to curated spaces.
The grift is real today.
Oh, man. Look at this anecdote from @ChrisJBeck. He posted that a friend of his is using a, quote, small army of voice agents with fake resumes, unquote, to execute expert network calls.
This right here is where the structural friction hits society head-on.
So for context for the listeners, platforms like GLG and Third Bridge are networks where hedge funds and institutional investors pay up to $1,500 an hour to speak with industry specialists before making massive trades.
Right.
And Backrest's friend is fully automating the hustle. He's deploying AI voice bots to impersonate high-level consultants, take the calls, answer the investors' questions, and just cash the checks.
We really have to unpack the mechanism here because this destroys the entire business model of knowledge-based consulting.
Completely.
These bots are likely using real-time RAG, retrieval augmented generation.
Right.
So the moment the hedge fund manager asks a highly technical question on the call, the AI instantly searches a massive proprietary database, scrapes LinkedIn for the correct industry jargon, and synthesizes an authoritative answer.
And then it pipes that text through an audio model that adds human cadence, micro-hesitations, breath sounds.
Exactly. The AI isn't just faking a voice. It's faking 20 years of career expertise in real time. If you are an institutional investor, how do you verify you are talking to a human?
You can't. You just can't.
No, you can't. Expert networks are built entirely on the premise of verified, high-signal, human-to-human authenticity.
Wait.
If that authenticity can no longer be cryptographically verified over a standard phone call, the entire institution of elite research just collapses. The people paying $1,500 an hour thought they were buying trust, but they were actually just buying a synthetic API call.
So, are we entering an era where truth is a premium subscription? Because if a solo developer can fake a $1,500 an hour consultant with a handful of voice bots, what is stopping a swarm of these agents from bankrupting entire institutional research firms by just feeding them synthesized hallucinations?
Honestly, nothing is stopping them. And the threat model gets much darker when you look outside the controlled environments of the big tech API walls.
Oh, you're talking about the open source stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Polymarket highlighted a post today about a developer who took an uncensored Qwen 3.827B model, ran it locally on a Mac, and the model immediately spit out highly detailed instructions for synthesizing methamphetamine.
Stuff like that.
No guardrails, no refusals, just immediate compliance. And Polymarket tied this directly to their prediction markets, noting that bettors currently give U.S. AI safety legislation only a 12% chance of passing by the end of 2026.
And let's break down why this is happening. The Qwen model in that post has 27 billion parameters.
Right.
2 years ago, running a model that complex required a massive data center. But today, because of Apple Silicon's unified memory architecture and a technique called quantization,
Which essentially shrinks the mathematical precision of the model so it fits on a laptop without losing much intelligence, right?
exactly. Because of that, anyone can run it locally. And because it's open source, the community strips out the corporate alignment.
The safety rails.
Right. The model has no internal mechanism to say, hey, I can't help you make illegal drugs.
Wow. Which makes Anthropic caving on their 30-day data retention policy seem almost trivial in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. It proves that corporate guardrails are becoming completely irrelevant. It does not matter what safety protocols OpenAI or Anthropic put in place. If an open source model with 27 billion parameters can be downloaded and run completely offline on a MacBook.
Because there's no cloud provider to pull the plug.
Right. There is no API key to revoke. The capability is fully decentralized. You cannot regulate mathematics running on a laptop in a basement.
Which is exactly why the market gives safety legislation a dismal 12% chance.
Exactly.
So with AI consultants defrauding hedge funds, open source models teaching basement chemistry, and just a general collapse of digital trust, human beings are reacting by building fortresses.
Yeah, they really are.
At Claudia, just launched Claude Academy today. It's this massive educational platform teaching a, quote, 4D framework, unquote, for safe AI use. It stands for delegation, description, discernment, and diligence.
Right.
It's essentially a training ground to help humans maintain agency alongside these models. And at the exact same time, Google is rolling out deep personalization tools.
This is huge.
Yeah, they are letting users explicitly set, quote, preferred sources, unquote, to dominate their top stories and AI overviews, while giving them the power to actively deprioritize open platforms like Reddit.
I mean, Google's move is the most telling signal on the wire today.
You think so?
Oh, without a doubt. For 2 decades, the open web was the product. Google wanted you to search the entire internet. But now, the open web is becoming a synthetic wasteland of AI-generated SEO spam, bot farms, and hallucinated content.
Just absolute garbage everywhere.
Right. Google is giving users these curation tools out of pure necessity.
Which means if you are a listener who relies on Google to research a major purchase or track down a medical symptom or look up financial news, this fundamentally changes how you use the internet.
Entirely.
The default search results are no longer trustworthy. You are going to have to manually whitelist the sources you trust, or you will just be drowning in AI slop.
We are actively retreating from the open internet back to curated, gated communities of information.
Wow.
Access to information is no longer the bottleneck in our society. Verification of truth is the bottleneck.
That's a great way to put it.
When the cost of generating a highly convincing lie drops to zero, verifiable trust becomes the most expensive, scarce asset in the global economy.
It is a brutal irony. I mean,
Right.
we built a machine like that Exa plugin for Codex we talked about that
Right.
can access 100 billion websites in seconds. But human beings are simultaneously using Google tools to shrink their personal internet down to 5 trusted websites just so they know what is real.
Exactly.
Every day we look at the wire and forecast the immediate fallout. So, based on this collision of trillion-dollar tech valuations, decentralized open source models, and the complete collapse of digital trust, what is your prediction for tomorrow?
Well, based on the breakdown of trust in expert networks
Yeah.
and the explosive capabilities of local models running on consumer hardware, within the next quarter, we will see a major enterprise announce mandatory cryptographic or biometric, quote, proof of human, unquote, verification for all remote contractors and high-ticket consultants.
Ollie.
Oh, yeah. The era of logging onto a Zoom call with your camera off and collecting a check is over. Capital will demand verifiable biology before it deploys funds.
Verifiable biology. Proof of human. It sounds like science fiction, but after seeing voice bots hustle consulting networks today, it feels inevitable. I want to leave everyone with one final thought to chew on. If autonomous agents are acting as our software, our researchers, and now our high-end consultants, we have to ask ourselves, are we building a more efficient economy, or are we just automating the hustle?
If the bots are faking their resumes and the enterprises are paying the bots, the humans might just be the middlemen we slowly phase out.
That's The Wire for today. Stay sharp, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.